The pain of being ignored is something that lingers far beyond the moment it happens. It's not just about someone not responding to a message or looking the other way in a conversation. It's the feeling of being invisible, of not mattering enough to be acknowledged. This experience leaves a mark on the heart, a quiet ache that reminds you of the time you reached out and received nothing in return. It's a pain that teaches you something valuable, the importance of making others feel seen, heard, and valued. Everyone, at some point in their life, has felt the sting of being ignored. Maybe it was a friend who suddenly stopped responding, a loved one who acted as if your presence didn't matter, or a workplace where your efforts went unnoticed. No matter where or how it happens, the feeling is universal. It makes you question your worth, your significance in someone's life, and even your place in the world. It creates self-doubt, a feeling of rejection that lingers long after the moment has passed. And the worst part? It makes you hesitate before reaching out again, before expressing yourself, before believing that your voice deserves to be heard. That's why those who have been ignored understand the depth of its impact. They know that a simple acknowledgement, a smile, a response, a moment of attention can change everything. A single word can validate someone's presence, make them feel included, and assure them that they are not alone. It costs nothing to acknowledge someone, yet its value is immeasurable. The pain of being ignored doesn't just teach you about yourself. It teaches you about how you should treat others. It instills in you the responsibility to ensure that no one else has to experience that same loneliness, that same feeling of being unseen. It makes you more mindful, more empathetic, more aware of the power of acknowledgement. When you remember how deeply it hurt, you naturally become someone who listens, who responds, who makes an effort to make others feel valued. Ignoring someone, whether intentional or not, creates an emotional wound that may not be visible, but is deeply felt. It makes people withdraw. It makes them second-guess their worth, and it makes them carry silent burdens. But the opposite is also true. Acknowledgement can be healing. A small act of recognition can restore confidence, strengthen connections, and remind people that they matter. In a world where everyone is caught up in their own struggles, it's easy to overlook others. But those who have been ignored know that no one deserves to feel that way. They choose to be different. They choose to make people feel heard because they know the power of a simple response. And that is what truly makes a difference. Being ignored doesn't just cause temporary discomfort. It leaves a lasting imprint on the heart. It creates a sense of isolation, a feeling that your presence and words hold no significance. The silent rejection of being overlooked can shake a person's confidence and make them question their worth. The worst part is that it often comes from those we care about the most, making the pain even deeper. When you've been ignored, even once, you understand how painful it is, and that's why you never want to make anyone else feel that way. People often underestimate the power of simple acknowledgement. A small response, a nod, a glance of recognition. These tiny gestures carry immense weight. They send a message that says, "I see you matter." But when those gestures are missing, it can feel as if you've been erased, as if your voice, your emotions, and your existence are insignificant. Over time, the pain of being ignored can lead to a sense of detachment, making people withdraw emotionally or hesitate to express themselves. That's why the experience of being ignored teaches a powerful lesson: to never make others feel the same way. Those who have felt the sting of being ignored become more sensitive to the emotions of others. They know what it's like to feel invisible, and so they make a conscious effort to ensure that the people around them feel heard and valued. Whether it's responding to a message, listening to someone's concerns, or simply offering a kind word, they make it a point to be present for others in ways they wish someone had been for them. The truth is, ignoring someone is rarely just about forgetting or being too busy. It's often a silent way of dismissing their importance, whether intentionally or not. Even in small, everyday interactions, people long to be acknowledged. They want to be seen, understood, and reassured that their presence matters. A world where people acknowledge each other with kindness is a world where people feel connected and valued. It's easy to take people for granted, to assume they'll always be there, even if we don't respond to their messages, listen to their words, or acknowledge their presence. Fixed. But when someone is consistently ignored, they eventually stop trying. They stop reaching out. They stop believing that their words are worth hearing. And that kind of silence, the kind that comes from someone giving up, is far more painful than any words left unsaid. That's why those who have been ignored make a different choice. They choose to treat others with the care and attention they wish they had received. They understand that kindness doesn't require grand gestures. Sometimes it's as simple as responding, listening, and making someone feel seen. And in a world that often forgets to do that, their choice makes all the difference. Being ignored can be one of the most painful experiences a person can go through. It's not just about the absence of words, it's about the absence of acknowledgement. When someone chooses to ignore you, whether intentionally or not, it creates a void that feels deeper than spoken rejection. It makes you question your worth, your significance, and even your very presence. The pain of being ignored lingers in the mind, making one feel as if they don't belong or that their feelings and thoughts don't matter. It's this experience that teaches the invaluable lesson of never making others feel the same way. For those who have been ignored, the lesson is deeply personal. They remember the sting of reaching out to someone only to be met with silence. They recall the sinking feeling of realizing that their words held no value in the eyes of another. This is why they make it a priority to treat people differently. They refuse to let others feel the same isolation and hurt that they have endured. They make a conscious effort to acknowledge, to listen, and to respond, even in the smallest of ways. It's often said that people don't remember what you say, but they do remember how you make them feel. When someone is ignored, they don't just forget the words that were left unspoken. They carry the weight of feeling unseen. It becomes a scar that shapes their perception of relationships, self-worth, and even the way they interact with the world. The experience of being ignored teaches empathy in a way that few other experiences can. It instills a deep understanding of the importance of recognition, of making others feel heard, valued, and included. Ignoring someone isn't always intentional, but the impact is still profound. A simple lack of response, a failure to acknowledge, or a moment of indifference can change the way a person sees themselves. In a world where people crave connection, the smallest act of recognition can be life-changing. That's why those who have felt invisible go out of their way to make sure others never feel the same. Whether it's returning a text message, listening to someone's concerns, or simply making eye contact in a conversation, these small actions hold immeasurable power. People often get caught up in their own lives, their own problems, and their own priorities, forgetting that the person on the other side is just as human, with emotions just as real. But the truth is, acknowledging someone requires little effort. A simple nod, a short reply, or a few moments of attention can make all the difference. It tells the other person, I see you, you matter. And sometimes that's all a person needs to hear to feel valued. The pain of being ignored teaches patience, understanding, and kindness. Those who have felt its sting know that the best way to counteract that pain is by making others feel the opposite. They choose to be present, to be responsive, and to be someone who uplifts others rather than making them feel invisible. This lesson, born from personal hardship, becomes a guiding principle in their interactions with the world. Life is too short to make someone feel unwanted or insignificant. The way we treat others matters, and sometimes even the smallest act of acknowledgement can change someone's day or even their life. When someone is ignored, it doesn't just hurt in the moment. It lingers, affecting their confidence, self-worth, and how they interact with others. It's a form of silent rejection that makes a person feel insignificant, as if they are invisible in a world where they are desperately seeking recognition. This is why those who have experienced this pain make a conscious effort to treat people with kindness and acknowledgement. They understand what it means to feel overlooked, and they choose to ensure that no one else has to endure the same feeling. Empathy is born from experience. When a person has been ignored, they develop a heightened awareness of how words, or the lack of them, can impact someone's emotions. It is not just about receiving attention. It's about feeling value, feeling like your voice matters. Those who have been on the receiving end of silence know the emotional weight it carries, and so they make it a mission to never let anyone feel the same way. They listen, they respond, and they acknowledge because they understand that even a simple "I hear you" can mean everything to someone who feels unseen. Ignoring someone might seem insignificant in the moment, but its effects can be long-lasting. People who have been ignored often remember that feeling more than they remember harsh words spoken to them. Words can be forgotten, but the feeling of being invisible stays imprinted on the heart. It shapes the way a person interacts with the world. It makes them hesitant to open up, cautious about trusting others, and fearful of being left unheard again. But those who rise above this experience don't allow it to harden them. Instead, they use it as a lesson to be more considerate in their interactions. Life is fast-paced, and people get caught up in their own priorities, sometimes unintentionally ignoring those around them. However, taking a moment to acknowledge someone is one of the simplest yet most powerful acts of kindness. A smile, a response, a nod of recognition. These small gestures can make a world of difference to someone who feels overlooked. People who have felt the pain of being ignored make these small gestures instinctively because they know firsthand how much they mean. At its core, being ignored is about feeling unimportant. It is a message, whether intended or not, that tells someone they are not worthy of attention. But those who have experienced this pain refuse to let others feel the same. They recognize that every individual deserves to be seen, heard, and valued. They understand that lifting others up, even in the smallest of ways, is not just a choice. It's a responsibility. The way we treat people matters. Every interaction, no matter how small, has the power to shape someone's day, their confidence, and even their outlook on life. Those who have been ignored choose to make a difference by being present, by listening, and by ensuring that no one around them ever feels as if they don't matter. And in doing so, they create a world where kindness, acknowledgement, and understanding replace the silence of being ignored. Being ignored is more than just a passing moment. It leaves a lasting imprint on a person's heart and mind. The experience of feeling unseen or unheard can shape how someone views themselves and how they interact with the world. For those who have gone through it, the pain of being ignored is something they never forget. But instead of letting that pain turn into bitterness, some people choose to respond differently. They make a conscious decision never to make others feel the same way. They ensure that every person they come across feels valued and acknowledged because they know what it means to be left out, overlooked, or dismissed. Choosing to acknowledge others is not just about common courtesy, it's about empathy. It's about recognizing that even the smallest interactions can have a profound impact on someone's day. A simple response, a smile, or a moment of genuine attention can make someone feel seen. It reassures them that they matter. People who have been ignored in the past know how deeply it hurts, and that's why they go out of their way to be there for others. They don't ignore messages. They don't overlook the quiet ones in the room. And they don't treat others as if they are invisible. Instead, they make an effort to reach out, to listen, and to respond. One of the reasons why being ignored hurts so much is that it makes a person feel insignificant. It's a silent rejection, a message that they are not important enough to be acknowledged. This feeling can linger, affecting a person's confidence, self-worth, and emotional well-being. But those who have experienced it and refuse to pass that pain on to others understand the importance of inclusion. They make an effort to engage with those who may feel left out, to include the person standing alone, and to remind people that their presence is valued. It takes strength to choose kindness in a world where people often overlook one another. It takes effort to respond is easier to ignore, to listen when it's easier to walk away, and to acknowledge when it's easier to be indifferent. But those who make this choice do so because they understand that every person is fighting a battle they cannot see. They know that a single act of kindness can change someone's perspective, even if it seems insignificant at the time. People who have been ignored don't just remember the feeling, they remember the impact. They remember how it made them question their worth, how it made them hesitate before reaching out, and how it made them feel alone, even in a crowded room. That memory becomes their motivation. It fuels their commitment to being present for others, to making sure no one around them feels like they don't matter. They turn their past pain into a reason to be better, kinder, and more compassionate. At the end of the day, the choice to acknowledge others is a reflection of one's character. It's not about grand gestures or dramatic efforts. It's about the little things. It's about taking a second to reply to a message, to check in on a friend, or to offer a kind word to someone who looks like they need it. Those who have felt the sting of being ignored know that even the smallest moment of recognition can make all the difference. And so, they make it their mission to be that difference for others. There's a saying that people never truly forget how you make them feel. When someone is ignored, whether intentionally or unintentionally, the emotions that arise from that experience can linger for a lifetime. The feeling of being invisible, as if one's presence or words hold no significance, can be deeply unsettling. It creates doubt, fosters insecurity, and can make a person question their worth. But the real strength lies in choosing to rise above that experience, to break the cycle, and to ensure that no one else feels that way because of you. Choosing not to ignore others, even when the world often makes it easy to do so, is a powerful decision. It means valuing the small moments of human connection, no matter how trivial they may seem. A simple acknowledgement, a reply to a message, a kind word in passing. These acts may seem insignificant in the grand scheme of things, but they have the power to change someone's day, or even their life. It is not about grand gestures, but about the consistent effort to be present for others in ways that matter. Many times, people ignore others not out of malice, but out of distraction, preoccupation, or even their own struggles. In today's fast-paced world, where people are constantly busy, caught up in their own worries, or glued to their screens, it is easy to overlook the importance of human connection. But those who have felt the sting of being ignored know that even when life is overwhelming, taking a moment to be there for someone else is worth it. They understand that a moment of acknowledgement can be the difference between someone feeling alone and someone feeling valued. There is also a deeper lesson in this. When we choose not to ignore others, we cultivate relationships built on trust, empathy, and respect. We show people that they matter, that their thoughts and feelings are valued. This does not mean overextending oneself or neglecting personal well-being, but rather practicing mindfulness in interactions with others. It is about being aware that every person has an emotional world just as complex as our own, and that taking a few moments to recognize their presence can have an immeasurable impact. The people who have experienced being ignored often develop a unique sensitivity to others' sweetness or pets. They notice the quiet ones in the room, the ones who hesitate before speaking, the ones who seem to shrink into the background. They reach out to those who may be struggling in silence, not because they expect something in return, but because they know how much it hurts to feel like no one sees or hears you. This empathy, born from personal experience, becomes a defining part of who they are. They become the kind of person they once wished someone had been for them. At times, it may feel tempting to respond to being ignored with the same treatment, to give others the cold shoulder as a way of showing them how it feels. But in reality, doing so only perpetuates the same cycle of pain. It is easy to mirror the behavior of those who hurt us, but it takes true strength to break that pattern. Instead of ignoring others, those who have grown from their own experiences choose to do the opposite. They choose to be present, to be kind, and to make sure no one around them feels invisible. Usable? When we acknowledge others, we create a ripple effect of kindness. A single moment of recognition can uplift someone's spirit, restore their confidence, or give them the reassurance they need to keep going. We never truly know what someone else is going through, but what we do know is that feeling ignored is something that no one deserves. So, those who have been through it make a promise to themselves. A promise never to make anyone feel the way they once did.